Emily had been scrolling through her notifications on a quiet Thursday evening when she noticed a friend request she didn't expect. The name stirred a memory, vivid but distant. Samantha Holt. Her stomach fluttered. Samantha, her high school best friend, had moved away after graduation. Emily hadn't thought about her in years. Smiling nervously, she tapped accept. Almost immediately, a message popped up. Is that really you? I can't believe it's been so long. Emily hesitated, then typed, Sam? Wow. Yeah, it's been a while. How are you? Good. Crazy seeing you here. I've missed you so much. The conversation flowed easily at first, light, nostalgic. They shared memories of high school, teachers they both loathed, silly pranks, late night gossip. Emily laughed quietly, feeling the warmth of an old connection she hadn't realized she'd missed. But there were little things that made her pause. Samantha's words lingered a beat too long, or repeated thoughts Emily had barely mentioned. Remember when we used to hang out at that coffee shop? I was just thinking about it. Emily hadn't said anything about that cafe in years. She typed back, Yeah, good times. Samantha replied instantly, I always think about our old routines. You were the only one who really got me. It was flattering, but slightly off. Over the next few days, Emily found herself checking her phone more often than usual. Samantha's messages were frequent, but not overwhelming, just persistent. She'd comment on posts Emily thought were private, mention things Emily hadn't shared online, subtle references. I see you posted about that hike last weekend. Looks beautiful. Emily frowned. She hadn't posted about it anywhere. A small, uncomfortable flutter began in her chest. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe Sam had a friend in common who told her. She brushed it off. At night, she found herself thinking about the messages more than she wanted to. Something in the phrasing, the timing, felt deliberate, not threatening exactly, but insistent, always a little closer than she expected, and Emily couldn't stop checking. Over the next week, Emily found herself checking her phone more often than she wanted. Samantha's messages were frequent, friendly on the surface, but there was an undercurrent Emily couldn't quite name. Hey, Em, what's your favorite cafe now? I always wonder if you still go there. Emily frowned. She hadn't told anyone where she went, not online, not to her other friends. She typed carefully. I don't go to cafes much anymore, just home stuff. Samantha replied immediately. Ah, okay. I just thought you'd still go. I remember us spending hours there. I miss that. Emily tried to laugh it off. Nostalgia, she told herself. Old friends remembering old times. But a tiny knot of unease had begun to form in her stomach. Then came the comments. She had posted a photo of her cat on Instagram, a simple, mundane picture, and the notification pinged. Still that tiny ball of fluff. Cute, just like old times, right? Emily didn't recognize anyone else commenting. The phrasing felt too personal, too intimate for someone who had been away for years. That night, Emily lay in bed scrolling through the messages again, telling herself she was imagining it. Maybe Samantha had simply remembered details. Maybe it was coincidence, but the words kept repeating in her mind. I miss that. I miss you. I always think about our old routines. By the third day, Emily started noticing other subtle things. When she left her apartment to grab groceries, she sometimes spotted a figure across the street, distant but oddly familiar. She couldn't be sure. The shadows played tricks in the evening light. Every time she thought she glimpsed Samantha, the person would disappear. Emily began locking her door more carefully. She checked her windows at night. Small sounds, the creak of her floorboards, the hum of her refrigerator, made her jump. Her phone buzzed again. You're quiet today. Everything okay, Em? Her hand shook slightly as she typed back. Yeah, fine. Just busy. Busy, huh? Don't forget to check in with me. Emily set the phone down. She told herself she was overreacting. She had been on edge before. But the creeping, subtle pressure of Samantha's attention was impossible to ignore. She started leaving her phone face down, trying not to think about it. Sleep became difficult. Shadows in her bedroom seemed longer, darker. The hum of the city outside her window sounded louder, as if every noise carried intent. She told herself it was paranoia, but the feeling refused to leave her. The messages continued, always timely, always observant. Samantha would notice things before Emily even thought to mention them. A new haircut, a minor ache in her wrist, a half-finished book on her nightstand. You're reading something new. I can tell. Mind if I guess? Emily swallowed hard. She hadn't shared the book with anyone, not online, not her family, not friends. It's called The Light Between Oceans. Am I close? Emily froze. She hadn't even told anyone she had bought it yesterday. Yeah, how did you? She started, then stopped typing. She didn't want to know. She didn't want to think about it. And for the first time, a faint, uncomfortable thought crept into her mind. Samantha isn't just reconnecting. She's watching. She's always been watching. Emily shook it off, telling herself it was coincidence, obsession, nothing serious. But when she went to sleep that night, she left her door unlocked. Not carelessly, just as a test. To see if her imagination was overactive, she awoke hours later to the faint hum of her phone vibrating on her nightstand. A single message. Sweet dreams, Em. Don't leave me out of them. The next morning, Emily woke with a tight knot in her stomach. She had been tossing and turning, her dreams filled with faint glimpses of Samantha, sometimes standing at the end of a hallway, sometimes just a shadow behind a window. She told herself it was nothing, just a lingering memory of the messages. Her phone buzzed again. Good morning, sleepyhead. Did you dream of me? Emily stared at the screen. The text was light, playful, but the implication made her stomach churn. She typed a short reply. No, just tired. The reply was almost instant. Ha! Well, I'll take that as a maybe. I hope I was in your dreams, though. Emily put the phone down, telling herself she needed to focus on work. But the sense of being watched didn't leave her. Even when she was outside, walking to the cafe for her morning coffee, she felt eyes following her. A flicker of movement across the street made her heart jump. She glanced quickly. Nothing. Back at home, she tried to concentrate, but Samantha's messages kept arriving, small and innocuous, yet precise in detail. Did you change your hair? Looks nice. I like it. You wore that jacket yesterday, didn't you? It suits you. Emily froze. She hadn't posted anything about either, not online, not anywhere. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Maybe it's a coincidence. She didn't reply. By the evening, Emily's phone was buzzing constantly. Messages stacked up. Casual observations, nostalgic references, seemingly innocent comments that were just too specific. She couldn't shake the feeling that Samantha was there, somewhere, watching her. Emily started double-checking the locks on her doors. She peeked through the blinds when a shadow passed outside. Nothing. Yet the feeling persisted. She tried talking to her roommate, but Samantha's presence didn't translate well in conversation. She just reached out after years. It's nothing, Emily muttered when her roommate asked about the constant messages. But inside, she wasn't so sure. The next day, Emily went to meet a friend at the bookstore. When she returned, she noticed a small slip of paper on her doormat, a folded note with nothing written inside. She frowned and picked it up. There was no one around. Her hands shook as she tossed it into the trash. It was probably just litter blown in by the wind. That's what she told herself. But that night, Samantha messaged her, "Did you get my note? I hope it made you smile." Emily froze. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't given anyone her address. No one had. The note hadn't come from the wind. I, I don't know what you mean, she typed shakily. "Oh, come on, Em. You know, I sent it. You just didn't see it at first. That's okay." The casual tone made it worse. It was like Samantha was smiling while typing, like she knew exactly what she had done, and Emily's fear gnawed at her chest. Over the next few days, the messages increased in frequency, subtle but persistent. "I was near your favorite cafe today. You weren't there, but I waited a little while. Did you see me?" Emily's fingers trembled. She hadn't been near that cafe. She hadn't seen anyone waiting. She started feeling tense all the time. Every sound outside her apartment, the rustle of leaves, the creak of a door, distant footsteps, set her on edge. She couldn't relax, even in her own home. Samantha's messages were always perfectly timed, often moments after Emily thought or said something privately, sometimes while she was alone. "Thinking about last night. Did you sleep well? Or did you dream of me again?" Emily couldn't remember telling anyone. Could Samantha really know? The idea made her stomach twist. She started avoiding her phone, leaving it face down, muting notifications. But she couldn't stop checking. Emily began paying attention to little things. A shadow in the corner of her vision that seemed too still to be normal. The faint smell of something wet, earthy, clinging to the apartment after she came home from the street. A subtle tap at her window that could have been the wind or someone tapping deliberately. She didn't tell anyone. How could she explain it? The messages could be coincidence. Her paranoia could be exaggerating everything. And yet, something in her chest told her it wasn't. Samantha's attention was precise, personal, invasive in ways that seemed almost impossible. Emily tried to tell herself she was imagining it, overthinking. But when her phone buzzed at 2:17 a.m., "I hope you're not hiding from me, Em. I like it when you stay awake." She realized that the safe bubble she had built around her life no longer existed. She was being watched. Emily sat at her desk, staring at her laptop, fingers tense above the keyboard. She had spent the last 2 days reading through every message from Samantha, trying to find some pattern, some clue that could explain the growing sense of unease she felt. At first, the messages had been normal, friendly, nostalgic, but as she reviewed them, small inconsistencies began to stand out. "I was just at the park where we used to meet. Remember our bench?" Emily frowned. That park had been demolished years ago. A bench they'd spent countless afternoons on no longer existed. "Did you see the new cafe on Main Street? It's exactly how we imagined it." She hadn't been anywhere near Main Street in months, and she hadn't mentioned the cafe. How could Samantha have known? Emily started taking notes. Every message, every reference, every seemingly innocent comment was logged. She compared them to public records, old news, and social media. Slowly, a pattern emerged. Samantha's presence was impossible. A message about a bookstore. Emily had been there once, 2 years ago, during a rare weekend trip she hadn't shared anywhere online. Yet Samantha's comment referenced the exact books she had browsed. "I know you lingered over the poetry section. You always do." Emily felt her stomach tighten. Who else could know? She checked old classmates' profiles, looking for posts or comments that could explain Samantha's knowledge. But there was nothing. No one had mentioned Emily's weekend trips, her routines, or the books she liked. Everything pointed to one impossible conclusion. Samantha was aware of details that only Emily knew. Emily decided to research Samantha more thoroughly. She pulled up old school records, social media, and local news archives. She needed context, anything that could make sense of the obsession hidden behind the messages. Samantha had moved after high school. Records confirmed it. She had lived in another state, far from Emily's current city. Her social media activity was sparse during that time. Emily tried to track down mutual friends, hoping someone could provide a clue. "Do you keep in touch with Sam?" Emily typed to an old classmate. The reply was odd. No. She kind of just disappeared after high school. Haven't heard from her in years. She moved, that's all. Moved. That was the explanation Emily had always accepted. But something didn't add up. If Samantha had simply moved, how did she know things about Emily's private life now, years later? Emily went back through the messages again, line by line. Small phrases that had seemed innocuous now felt deliberate. "I thought about our old routines today." "You always do this, don't you?" "I've been wondering how you've changed." It wasn't just nostalgia. There was a precision, a focus on Emily's habits and thoughts. She noted it all down, every date, every time reference, every small observation. By the end of the night, her notebook was filled with inconsistencies, too precise to be coincidence, too personal to be normal. Emily decided to reach out to a few people from high school she hadn't contacted in years. Carefully, she asked questions about Samantha, where she went, what she was doing now, if anyone had kept in touch. The answers were fragmented. Some classmates remembered her moving away and losing contact. Others seemed hesitant, almost uneasy, as if the topic was uncomfortable. Emily felt a chill in her chest. Something about Samantha's story, what she didn't say, what others avoided saying, didn't add up. The more Emily pieced together, the clearer it became. Samantha's past was a blank spot. No one could account for her whereabouts, her routines, or her life after high school. Yet somehow, here she was, messaging Emily in detail, aware of things that should have been private. By the time Emily shut her laptop that night, she realized she was chasing questions she might not want answered. Each message that had seemed friendly now felt intrusive. Each memory Samantha referenced now carried a subtle weight. Emily couldn't explain it, but she knew something was off. The investigation was revealing gaps, silences, and inconsistencies that didn't make sense. And the deeper she dug, the more she realized that Samantha's story didn't line up with reality, or at least the reality Emily had always accepted. For the first time, Emily felt a creeping sense of fear. Not a fear of being watched, but a fear of truth. The knowledge that someone she trusted, someone she remembered as familiar and safe, was hiding something, something that didn't make sense. Emily sat back from her laptop, rubbing her temples. She had spent the evening tracing Samantha's past, combing through old news articles, school records, and social media posts. Every message from Samantha, every seemingly innocent comment, had begun to feel precise, too precise. She ran her fingers through her hair and opened her phone to reread the last string of messages. "I've been wondering how you've changed. I thought about our old routines today." Little details kept standing out, things she hadn't shared publicly, moments only she would know. Emily's unease had grown into a tight knot in her stomach. Something about Samantha's online presence didn't make sense. Then a ping on her phone pulled her attention away. a message from an old classmate she hadn't spoken to in years. Emily, you need to see this. Attached was a screenshot of a local obituary. Emily's fingers trembled as she opened it. The name was unmistakable Samantha Holt, passed away 5 years ago. The photo, the funeral details. It was the same Samantha Holt she had grown up with. Her chest tightened. She reread the message, half expecting it to vanish if she blinked. Slowly, she opened her messages from Samantha. Her eyes went wide. The last message had arrived mere hours ago. I'm about to stop by. Can't wait to see you. Emily's hands shook violently. She stared at the screen, heart hammering. That wasn't possible. Samantha had been dead for years. A faint noise from the front door froze her in place. A soft, deliberate knock. Emily's breath caught. She backed away from the door, her mind racing. Could it be someone playing a cruel joke? But the knock came again, slightly louder, measured, persistent. With trembling legs, she crept toward the peephole. Her pulse hammered in her ears. And there she saw her, Samantha, or what looked like her, standing on the doorstep. Wet, matted hair clinging to her face, skin pale and disfigured. Her eyes were hollow, yet unmistakably familiar. Her lips twitched into a faint, unnatural smile. Emily stumbled backward, frozen with fear. She wanted to scream, to call for help, but her phone battery had died, and her charger was in the car. She was completely cut off. The figure at the door didn't move, didn't speak, except for a whispering voice that barely carried through the door. Em, please, let me in. Emily pressed herself against the wall, trembling, staring through the peephole. Hours dragged on. Every small sound, the hum of the refrigerator, distant traffic, a bird landing on the windowsill, felt amplified. The knock, soft but insistent, came again and again, a cruel metronome against her nerves. She didn't sleep. She didn't move. She couldn't. As dawn's first light touched the apartment, the figure at the door finally shifted, then slowly, silently, walked away, disappearing into the morning shadows. Emily sank to the floor, exhausted and shaking. She picked up her phone to check the messages, but they were gone. Every single message from Samantha, every friend request, every indication that she had been here, had vanished. Even when Emily reached out to classmates for answers, no one had seen the messages. No one had received any. It was as if Samantha had never existed at all. Emily never saw her again, but the memory of that pale, disfigured face pressed against the door and the soft whisper pleading to come inside would haunt her forever.